If you spent decades being a people-pleasing nice guy and you're finally trying to become a man you respect, it can be a confusing journey. There's no shortage of advice out there telling you how you should behave, how you should treat women, what hobbies a man should have, what he should look like. But I went through this transition myself, and I've learned what the change actually involves. Be sure to drop a comment below and let me know if becoming a man you're actually proud to be has been difficult and maybe confusing. So here's the truth. Being a man and looking like one are not the same thing. One is about showing up authentically. The other one's more about performing. So when I was young, I grew up in a small town. I knew how to work on my car. I could drive a tractor. I went duck hunting with my dad. I subscribed to Hot Rod magazine. I enjoyed listening to hard rock music. None of that was for show. Those were all things I genuinely liked. But they didn't make me into a man. Because underneath all of that, I was a sensitive kid, always trying to make sure everyone was okay. I didn't want to be a burden. I craved approval, especially from my parents. I was the firstborn, so I felt this pressure to be perfect. And I got really good at going along to get along. I still had opinions, but I kept them to myself. I prioritized other people's needs. I looked at careers that my parents would approve of. And then I dated like a nice guy, thinking if I just treated women well and met all their needs, they'd be happy, we'd be happy, it would all work out. Of course, that's not how it works. It didn't work out that way. In my mid-20s, I got married, started a career, and eventually had a family. I spent over 20 years in a marriage that looked stable from the outside, but it was emotionally hollow. We weren't a great match. But when I started doing work on myself and I got honest about it, I realized I hadn't helped the situation either. I avoided conflict, swallowed my needs, kept grinding away at work I didn't enjoy. I thought that being the good, steady provider and taking care of everyone was enough. That if I just kept doing the right thing in my mind, I'd eventually feel seen, respected, appreciated, loved. But it didn't work like that. And I didn't respect myself either. I'd convinced myself that being a man meant quietly carrying the burden, which basically meant being a martyr, the one who holds it all together. But here's what I've learned. That mindset doesn't make you noble, it just makes you disappear. Suppressing who you are and giving with strings attached, hoping someone notices, hoping you'll be loved for it, that's not strength, it's manipulation. And ironically, it keeps you disconnected from the people you're trying so hard to please. Eventually, my marriage ended. I went through some painful dating experiences, and I started working on myself. And I did the work, and the pivot point, the thing that finally made the difference, was realizing that my nice guy persona was the real problem. What I learned about real masculinity, I'd like to share a little more with you. Masculinity isn't about your hobbies or your beard or your truck, if you have any of those things. Those things might be a part of who you are. And if they are, great, nothing wrong with them. But they don't make you a man or make you more of a man. Being a man means knowing who you are and what you stand for. It means getting honest about what you want, what you need, and to feel like you can acknowledge that without shame. It means taking ownership of your flaws without minimizing them or making yourself small. You don't put yourself down. You just keep showing up a little clearer, a little braver, day by day. And here's what that actually looks like in practice. When someone asks you what you want for dinner, you give a real answer instead of, I don't care, whatever you want. When you disagree with someone, you say so. You say it respectfully instead of just nodding along. When you're tired or stressed, you communicate that instead of pretending everything's fine. How many times have we all said that? Well, resentment builds up. You don't need to be aggressive, but on the other hand, you don't need to avoid conflict either. You value honesty over comfort, and you trust yourself to handle hard things. This was an important realization for myself, was learning to trust myself to handle hard things. Instead of avoiding them out of fear, what if they don't work out? I need to keep all the pieces moved around so that everything works a certain way, which never works. Just trusting yourself that you can handle however it all goes. You stop monitoring your partner's mood to make sure they're happy. You can still care about their mood. You can care about them, but their mood is not your responsibility. You express your needs clearly and you mean what you say. And if you're not ready to commit and you're dating someone, you don't string them along hoping they'll somehow change your mind or something. If you want something and you're in a relationship, you ask for it specifically. You don't put anyone else on a pedestal. You start seeing yourself as an equal. You give when you want to, because you can still be generous and kind and not be a doormat. But you do it not hoping for anything in return, such as love or approval or that you're good enough. If you're getting value from this so far, I'd really appreciate it if you would like the video. That's one small thing you could do that would help the channel grow. Thank you. The transformation from nice guy to authentic man isn't about becoming someone else. It's about uncovering who you actually are underneath all of the people-pleasing habits. So I think it's important to start with our internal dialogue. Most nice guys have a brutal inner critic that constantly tells them they're not good enough. Can you relate to that? I know I can. And you need to catch that voice and question it. When you hear, I should have said this differently, I'm such an idiot. And I used to swear at myself all the time under my breath. I would say very harsh things to myself. Would you talk to a friend that way? Or would you let someone else talk to you that way? Why do you allow yourself to talk to yourself like that? Learning to treat yourself with basic respect is foundational. Get clear on your values and boundaries. And if you've spent years prioritizing other people's needs, you might not even know what yours are. And that's okay. You have to start somewhere. But what kind of music do you actually like when no one's around? What do you want to do with your time on a Saturday? What behavior from others makes you uncomfortable? You can't stand up for yourself if you don't know what you stand for. Practice saying no without over-explaining. Nice guys, if they're able to say no to something, tend to give a dissertation every time they decline something, trying to prove they have a good reason. You know, I can't make it, period, is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify your boundaries to anyone. And learn to disagree without being disagreeable. You can have a different opinion without being hostile. I see it differently is powerful language. So is, that doesn't work for me. You're not trying to win any arguments. You're trying to be honest about your perspective. And when you start dating as an authentic man instead of a nice guy, everything changes. You're no longer trying to win anyone over by being perfect. You're trying to find someone who appreciates who you actually are. So you don't need all of the performance. This means you stop doing things you don't want to do to impress someone. You don't pretend to love hiking if you hate it. I actually love it. You don't agree with every opinion. You don't immediately start planning your future together after 2 dates because you're afraid that you need to lock them down or you won't find anyone. Instead, you show up as yourself. You have your own interests, your own friends, your own goals. You're genuinely interested in getting to know them, but you're also evaluating whether they're a good fit for you, which flips around the way most nice guys usually think about dating. You give because you want to. It's still good to be kind. It just means not being a doormat. Not because you think it will make them like you more, though. And when something bothers you, you address it directly instead of being wishy-washy and letting resentment build up. So this journey isn't easy. I know that. And you need to be prepared for some challenges. There's going to be some pushback. People might not like the change. Some folks in your life have gotten used to you being accommodating. And when you start setting boundaries, they might push back or at least be a little bit confused for a while. That's normal. The people who truly care about you will adjust. The ones who don't, well, that tells you something important. You'll doubt yourself constantly at first. After years of putting others first, prioritizing your own needs can feel selfish. It's not. You're learning to be responsible for your own happiness instead of expecting others to read your mind. Now, you might overcorrect. Some men go from people-pleasing straight to being a jerk, thinking that that's what they need to do. That's what masculinity looks like. It's not. The opposite of nice guy is not a jerk. The opposite of nice guy is actually an integrated man, and that's really what I'm talking about in this video. You're aiming for authentic, not aggressive. Confident, not arrogant. And as you go through this, old habits will resurface. You have to expect that. That's why nice guys who are trying to get better say they're in recovery, because these things can creep back up if we're not careful. You catch yourself falling back into those old nice guy patterns, especially when you're stressed, and that's normal. The key, though, is recognizing it and course correcting, not beating yourself up about it. And here's what you get when you do this work. You start respecting yourself. That's the most important thing. Also, other people start respecting you too. Your relationships become more genuine because people are responding to the real you, not some performance. You stop feeling like you're living someone else's life. You make decisions based on what you actually want, not what you think you should want. You handle conflict better because you're not walking on eggshells all the time. And yes, you become more attractive to potential partners, not because you're playing games, but because authentic confidence is genuinely appealing. So yeah, a real man might hunt or watch football or grow a beard or never get married again. That's fine, as long as those things come from the authentic you. The hard work, though, about becoming a man isn't all that outwardly facing stuff. It's what happens inside. And you'll know you're on the right track when you're no longer dying inside, trying to keep everyone else happy, but living honestly for yourself and for those you truly care about. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real, and that's something worth working toward no matter how long it takes. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, especially if you're a middle-aged guy trying to live more authentically. I'll see you at the next one.